Good day, everyone. I am Miss Maria Luisa Virador, your instructor in Pre-Calculus. And for the lesson 1, we will have the introduction to conics. 2 millennia ago, Apollonius of Perga, the great Greek geometer, studied the curves formed by the intersection of a plane and a double right circular cone, and discovered many properties of these curves. These curves were later known as conic sections because they were formed from the double right circular cone. The cone was thought of as having two parts that extended infinitely in both directions. A line lying entirely on the cone is referred to as a generator of the cone. So these two lines, they are called the generators of the cone. All generators of a cone pass through the intersection of the two parts called the vertex. So their intersection is called the vertex. So this is the vertex, and this vertical line is called the axis. A conic section, according to Apollonius' study, is a curve formed by the intersection of a plane and a double right circular cone. There is no better example of this than the work done by the ancient Greeks on the curves known as the conics. They were first studied by one of Plato's pupils. No important scientific applications were found for them until the 17th century, when Kepler discovered that planets move in ellipse and Galileo proved that projectiles travel in parabolas. So there are three types of conics depending on the number of generators that are parallel to the cutting plane. So the first one is the parabola, the next one is the ellipse. In ellipse, it includes the circles. And the third one is hyperbola. So the first conic section is the parabola. So we can say that a conic is a parabola if the cutting plane is parallel to one and only one generator. So dito, sa image na ito, so we have the right circular cone and the cutting plane. So as you can see, ang ating cutting plane is parallel to one generator. So this is the cutting plane and this is the generator. They are parallel. At kapag ganun, makakabuo tayo dito ng parabola. And for the next image, so makikita nyo yung ating parts of a parabola. So we have the directrix, the vertex, the focus, and the axis of symmetry, and the graph itself, the parabola. So sa mga susunod nating mga lesson, kailangan na natin isolve ang bawat isa sa kanila. But for now, i-introduce ko na muna siya sa inyo. So, properties of parabola. One of nature's best known approximations to parabola is the path taken by a body projected upward and obliquely to the pull of gravity, as in the parabolic trajectory of a golf ball. The friction of air and the pull of gravity will change slightly the projectile's path from that of a true parabola, but in many cases, the error is insignificant. So, ito yung sinasabi kanina, noong 17th century. Ito yung na-discover ni Galileo, na ang projectile is moved through parabola. So parabolas exhibit unusual and useful reflective properties. If a light is placed at the focus of a parabolic mirror, the light will be reflected in rays parallel to said axis. So dito, ang parabola ay ginagamit sa mga ah, headlights or headlamp. For example, sa ilaw ng sasakyan, yung headlight ng sasakyan or the flashlight. So, parabolic ang ginagamit doon. Reflector, parabolic. So, paano po yun gagana? So, dito, in this way, a straight beam of light is formed. It is for the reason that parabolic surfaces are used for headlamp reflectors. The bulb is placed at the focus for the high beam and a little above the focus for the low beam. So, dito, this is the reflector parabolic. So, pag nilagay mo yung light or yung ilaw dito sa focus, so, kanina nga, sinabi ko na sa inyo yung parts ng parabola. So, this is the focus. So, kapag nilagay mo dyan, so magre-reflect ngayon yung ilaw at lalabas siya doon. So, one of the properties of the parabola is that reflector siya. Okay, ginagamit siya to reflect. Okay, next. The opposite principle is used in the giant mirrors in reflecting telescopes and in antennas used to collect light and radio waves from outer space. The beam comes toward the parabolic surface and is brought into focus at the focal point. So ito, kabaliktaran naman nung kanina na yung ginagamit mismo yung parabola or parabolic reflector para mag-reflect yung light. So, dito naman, baliktad. So, yung parabolic mismo, yung kumukuha or yung wave mismo, yung pumupunta sa ating parabolic dish. And then, pag nakapunta na siya dito or nakuha na siya ng parabolic dish na to, magre-reflect naman siya ngayon dito sa ating focus. So, this is called the focus. So, katulad dito, yung light or yung rays or waves, pupunta siya ngayon dito sa antenna and then magre-reflect dito sa ating focus. Kaya nagkakaroon ng connection ang ating mga radio or kung ano pa man na ginagamit natin. Okay, so this is the summary of the parabola. So we have the radio telescope. So the radio telescope is the receiver. So ito po, yung light or yung waves, pupunta doon and then pupunta dito sa ating focus. And then the next one, torch reflector or yung flashlight or yung headlight ng sasakyan, transmitter naman siya. So nagtatransmit siya ng light. And then this is the trajectory, path of a moving object. So the next conic is the ellipse and circle. So ellipse, the cutting plane is not parallel to any generator. And the circle, the cutting plane is not parallel to any generator but perpendicular to the axis. So ito po yun. This is the cutting plane and then ikakat niya yung ating circular cone without any parallel to generator. So, wala siyang kaparallel. And then, for this circle naman, so ito siya. Hindi rin siya parallel sa dalawang generator, but perpendicular siya to the axis. So, this is the axis. They are perpendicular. So, ayun po. And for the parts of the circle, in the conic, ang pinaka-importanting part ng circle lang naman is the radius. Radius or the diameter. So, ayan lang naman yung kailangan natin sa circle. And for the ellipse, so ito, marami-rami ang kailangan natin. So, we have the major axis, the longer line, minor axis, the shorter line, and then dalawang focus, and then the vertex. So, the intersection of the longer line and the ellipse is called the vertex. So, dalawa po yan. This one and this one. And for this po, ang tawag dito ay co-vertices. So, co-vertices is the intersection of the shorter line and the ellipse. The intersection of minor axis and ellipse. So, yan po yung mga parts ng ellipse and circle. Nakagaya ng sabi ko kanina sa parabola, pagdating sa lesson na mismo niya, isosolve natin ang bawat isa para magkaroon tayo ng graph. So, using the equation, isosolve natin lahat ng parts na yan para mag-graph yung ating equation. Okay, next. Though not so simple as the circle, the ellipse is nevertheless the curve most often seen in everyday life. The reason is that every circle viewed obliquely appears elliptical. So, sinasabi lang po dito, every circle, kapag tiningnan natin siya ng pahiga, magiging elliptical na siya. Hindi siya totally nagiging circle. On a far smaller scale, the electrons of an atom move in an approximately elliptical orbit with the nucleus at one focus. So, dito, yung electrons, ano po ba yung, saan ba siya nagmo-move? Ano bang, okay. So, ang electrons ay nagmo-move elliptically and then at one focus. So, ito yung sinasabing focus. So, real-life applications. So the ellipse has an important property that is used in the reflection of light and sound waves. Any light or signal that starts at one focus will be reflected to the other focus. This principle is used in lithotripsy, a medical procedure for treating kidney stones. So in this procedure, the patient is placed in an elliptical tank of water with the kidney stone at one focus. High energy shock waves generated at the other focus are concentrated on the stone, pulverizing it. So sa nakikita nyo, ito yung machine na ginagamit sa lithotripsy. So parang magkakaroon lang siya ng imaginary ellipse. Diyan. So yung imaginary ellipse na yun, ito siya. So this is the kidney. And then ito yung machine na ginamit. So, magkakaroon lang siya dyan ng imaginary ellipse. So, dito sa machine, so this is the focus. So, pupunta siya dito and then magre-reflect siya doon sa kidney. So, ayun po ang nangyayari. And for this another picture, so pinapakita niya lang din kung paano gumalaw yung waves sa loob ng ellipse. So, ayan po yung real-life application ng ellipse. Okay, and the next one, the principle is also used in the construction of whispering galleries, such as in St. Paul Cathedral in London. So in this building, if a person whispers near one focus, he can be heard at the other focus, although he cannot be heard at many places in between. So bukod dito sa building na yan, marami pang pinaggagamitan ng ellipse. Okay po? So, Statuary Hall in the U.S. Capitol building is elliptic. It was in this room that John Quincy Adams, while a member of the House of Representatives, discovered this acoustical phenomenon. He situated his desk at a focal point at the elliptical ceiling, easily eavesdropping on the private conversation of other House members located near the other focal point. Okay, next. So, ito yung sinabi kanina on 17th century na na-discover ni Kepler. Most comets travel around the sun in elliptical or open-ended parabolic and hyperbolic orbits. Okay, the next conic is the hyperbola. If a right circular cone is intersected by a plane parallel to its axis, part of a hyperbola is formed. So, ito po yung itsura. So, ito yung ating axis. And this is the circular cone. So this is the plane. It is parallel to the axis. Again, these are the parts of hyperbola. So medyo madami-dami na siya. So lahat yan isosolve natin para magkaroon ng graph ang equation sa mga susunod na lesson. Okay. An intersection can occur in physical situation as simple as sharpening a pencil that has a polygon. An intersection can occur in physical situations as simple as sharpening a pencil that has a polygon or polygonal cross-section or in the patterns formed on a wall by a lampshade. So, ang makikita nyo sa mga paligid-ligid, marami kayong makikitang conics. Kapag nagmasid lang kayo sa mga paligid, tulad nito, yung ilaw ng lampshade. So, meron siyang nabuong hyperbola. So, tumingin-tingin lang kayo, marami kayong makikita sa mga paligid. Okay, next. A sonic boom shock wave has the shape of a cone, and it intersects the ground in part of a hyperbola. It hits every point on this curve at the same time, so that people in the different places along the curve on the ground hear it at the same time. Because the airplane is moving forward, the hyperbolic curve moves forward, and eventually the boom can be heard by everyone in its path. So that's one application. And then radio waves and navigation. Radio waves and hyperbolas can be used in navigation if the center of each circle gives out a radio signal. Then the signals will intersect each other in hyperbolas. So this is how hyperbolic radio navigation systems were created. So these are the important elements of conic sections that you need to remember and kailangan din natin magamit sa mga susunod na lesson. So the first one is the focus. So that is the fixed point of the conic. And the directrix, the fixed line D corresponding to the focus. Next is the principal axis, the line that passes through the focus and perpendicular to the directrix. And the vertex, the point of intersection of the conic and its principal axis. So mga susunod pa nating mga lesson, mas maiintindihan nyo sila kasi magagamit na natin sila. Okay? And for the fifth, eccentricity. So this is the constant ratio. If point P is one of the point of the conic with point Q as its projection on directrix, then the eccentricity is the ratio of the distance Fp to the distance Qp, which is a constant. And in symbol, we have E is equal to Fp over Qp. So the three types of conics are distinguished by the value of its eccentricity. So using the eccentricity, malalaman natin kung ano po yung given. Parabola, ellipse, or hyperbola ba siya. So the first one is, the conic is parabola if the eccentricity is equal to 1. And then the conics is an ellipse or circle if the eccentricity is less than 1. And for the third one, the conic is a hyperbola if the eccentricity is greater than 1. So, that's all for today. And para sa mga susunod na lesson, baka hindi na tayo gumamit ng PowerPoint. Mag-video na po tayo dahil solving na ang ating gagawin. So, lahat ng mga ipinakita ko kaninang parts ng conics. So, kailangan na natin siyang isolve para ma-graph natin siya. So, that's all for today. And good luck and keep safe, everyone.